What's going on, everyone? Kurt Weidner here in the Team Animal Training Compound. A while back, I did a few videos about how I program certain workouts. There was one about how I program chest workouts, another one about back workouts, and one about shoulder workouts. My buddy Jordan Gard had requested me to do a video talking about how I program leg workouts, so that's what I'm going to talk to you about here today. I'm going to divide this into two parts. The first is I'm going to talk about how I have traditionally programmed my lower body workouts going back probably at least 10 years. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how it's slightly different now and why. So let's start with basically my kind of traditional approach to programming my lower body workouts going back at least a decade. So I have two main lower body workouts per week. That doesn't include everything I do for lower body. There's a lot of other auxiliary stuff that gets thrown in other days, which I'll try to talk on a little bit. But basically, I would always look at a Tuesday, Wednesday workout, and then a Friday, Saturday, or meaning one or the other. More often than not, the lower body, the first leg day would be on Tuesday, but I've programmed that on Wednesday right now. I'm doing Wednesday. And then the other one, more often than not, was on Saturday, but there has been times where I've done it on Friday. But that basically puts 2 days of complete rest in between, between them in one direction and 3 days in the other. So you want a minimum of 2 days in between them. So the way it's always been is on this day, this is my primary barbell squat day, okay? And this day was my posterior chain day, so I was always doing some type of deadlift, all right? And I never benefited from deadlifting more than once a week. I felt like for me, it was unnecessary to deadlift more than once a week, but I would squat twice a week. And so when I was often doing a type of barbell squat twice a week, the difference being that this was like a regular barbell squat, you know, usually faster tempo, higher rep, more geared towards hypertrophy. And this was more of a quad-based leg workout where this is more posterior chain. So on this day, I would often throw in something like a box squat, where this would be lower rep. And sometimes it also could be like a squat machine. Very often would do box squats, but sometimes something like, for instance, the Legend squat machine, which in gyms I've worked out in the past have had something like that, doing either pauses or band tension or something. So a difference in how this was broken up, whereas this is more quad-based, this is more posterior chain-based. This workout was also more hypertrophy-based, and this was more based on power and strength. So when I would do, you know, these squat movements, this was usually in a low rep range, like 5 reps, often using pauses, using band tension, using chains, something like that. And when I would do the squats on this day, this is usually a minimum of 10 reps. I would always vary my rep scheme, so I change the rep schemes every time. So, you know, one day it might be a progression of 10 rep sets where, you know, I do a bunch of warm-ups, you know, have a starting working weight of where I hit 10 reps and keep going up until I hit a 10 rep max, and then maybe come back and do, you know, a set of 20. And then another, you know, there's a lot of different rep schemes I've used, you know, maybe another time it might be 4x12 or 5x12. I had a absolutely brutal 5x15 pyramid I would hit every once and again, where I would do my warm-ups and I would start with 315, 15 reps, put 20 pounds on, go up to 335, 15 reps, 355, 15 reps, go back to 335, 15 reps, back down to 315 for 15 reps. And then occasionally when I wanted to get if I, you know, felt like I needed to mix things up and maybe trying to do heavy weight wasn't, I was losing speed, I would do more of a high tempo workout where I would do a 5 or 6 by 20. So I would start with, after my warm-ups, 225 for 20 reps, keep adding 20 pounds, and keep going for sets of 20. So you get 225, 245, 265, 285. And, you know, when I did my best at this, I'd usually get up to about 305, 315 on like my fifth set, and then come back and do 225 again for 20. So you do like 120 total reps with, you know, a reasonable amount of weight. So again, this is more hypertrophy, and this is more power strength. The deadlifts, more often than not, would be, you know, lower rep, but I occasionally would throw higher rep stuff in. So that was kind of the main difference. And when you look at the auxiliary stuff, you know, your supporting stuff, I would always do leg curls in both days, but different types, and this is still true today. So on this midweek workout, there'd be a prone leg curl. On this workout, it would be a kneeling leg curl. You know, when I was, and right now, this would be like a Cybex kneeling leg curl. In the past, it's been like a hammer strength kneeling leg curl. Notes, Phil. So other stuff would be for posterior chain auxiliary. I would always throw back extensions, you know, using like a Roman chair or GHD here. And this would be, you know, a glute ham raise, or GHD, whatever you want to call it. I usually would end up doing leg extensions on both days. Okay. And then, well, the squats were my primary workout. I would always throw in some other type of compound leg movement that was like machine base. So this would be like either a, you know, leg press or a hack squat. And then, you know, I would do something different here. Like in the past, I've, you know, one of the gyms I trained at had a hammer strength 8 squat, but some type of machine based squat. And a lot of that depends on what I did prior. Now, if you do a really tough workout where you're combining box squats and deadlifts, you know, you might just use most of this as your auxiliary. One of the things that I would throw in here, since this was posterior chain based, was a what I would call a lunge movement. All right. And a lunge movement could include walking lunges, could include step ups, could be split squat or some type of split stance, you know, leg press. I mean, sometimes, like for instance, if you've ever used a hammer strength H squat, I used to do single leg H squats, and it was basically something to get, you know, to really focus on utilizing that that posterior chain. Within the workouts themselves, so you know, you have two different types of workouts, different exercises on the 2 days. Within the workouts themselves, I would also, you know, vary my rep schemes. On the auxiliary stuff here, not too much variance. I mean, sometimes I would do different stuff, but like I was telling you, I'd always have different rep schemes for here. It could be anywhere from, you know, 10 to 20 reps on that stuff. And then whatever I did on that is going to be very different from what I did here. Typically, you know, I might do something, you know, very different where you know, hack squats might be pauses, leg presses. It might be sets of 20 to 30. You know, when I've done leg press, I mean, I usually keep it higher rep because it just, I've always found the benefit as far as hypertrophy to go really high reps on leg press. And also, when you start going under 15 and 20 reps, you have to put so much weight on, it actually kind of gets a little bit stupid and dangerous, and usually you're shaving your form anyway. So, which on leg press you don't get the range of motion you get on certain other exercises. You know, so I would you know, do stuff like where you put a what do you start with, a plate or two or whatever on each side, do 20 reps and keep adding plates until you can't get 20 reps, and then come back down and do, you know, a set of something ridiculous like 50 to 75, sometimes even gone up to 100 reps on a set. So So that's kind of more or less, a look at how I've programmed it and the differences between those 2 days. Now, throughout the week, and also depending on whether I was off season or in season, there's a lot of other stuff that gets thrown in, and how it gets thrown in depends on my workout split at the time, and where I'm at, what my goals are. So, for instance, there's things like sled. If you've watched my videos, you know I'm a big fan of doing sled workouts. Sometimes sled workouts gets programmed into the end of my lower body workouts. Sometimes it's on other days. I'll have a conditioning only day. I've even thrown it in on upper body days where just to get some activation and some blood flowing in my legs. Another thing would be like hill sprints, which usually gets programmed in with my conditioning. Something I do more, during contest prep. Kettlebell swings are really primarily lower body, posterior chain. And I don't really do those with my lower body because I have so much lower body stuff on these days. But I have other days, like right now, my Sunday morning shoulder day, and also on my conditioning day midweek, I throw in kettlebell swings all the time. What am I forgetting here? I'll throw in some jump rope. Sometimes some other forms of HIIT training. Hip thrust. So barbell hip thrust. I actually right now, I found it to be better for me personally on my conditioning day, or even an upper body day where I want to throw in a little bit of lower body. I can get a little bit of extra work. So this is a glute specific exercise. There's just too much volume in these to start throwing in more exercises. So sometimes some of this extraneous stuff, I find it to be more effective to actually put it in other places. I also think it's beneficial for recovery. I actually will sometimes train a little bit of legs the day after legs, and that sounds a little crazy, but it actually kind of helps break up lactic acid, get some blood flowing, and actually facilitates recovery for me. It works well for me. So during my prep, I'll find that I end up doing some form of lower body up to 5 and even 6 days a week. Now I have those 2 days that are heavily intensive, really, really high volume for lower body, but on almost every other day of the week, I'm doing a little bit of something for legs. So they're never really completely resting, and I actually find that it helps me recover. So the other thing that I didn't mention here is calves. Basically, there's always going to be 2 calf movements. It's always going to be either a standing calf raise or some type of straight leg calf raise movement, and pretty much, a different straight leg calf raise movement and seated calf raise. So when I say a straight leg calf raise movement, that could be, for instance, like I'll use the hack squat and I'll do calf raises on this. So if I do standing calf raises on my Tuesday workout, then I'll do a different type of calf raise here, and I'll pretty much always do seated calf raises on both. Now you're looking at, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of shit. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff on there. So the other thing is that in order for me to do everything I want to do, and I kind of have lofty goals with my leg workouts, in order for me to achieve all of this, I have to not only work fast, but I pretty much have to do supersets and giant sets. If I did one thing at a time, I'd pretty much have to take the day off from work and be like, yeah, I'm going to be here all day. So even when I push and I do giant sets and supersets, it's still like my Saturday workouts will take 3 hours. My midweek workout, even pushing it, it's like 2.5 hours with my warm up. And I will group several exercises together. So it's usually a grouping of 3 to 4 exercises. So for instance, on this day, I got a bunch of warm up stuff I do to get my hips and my knees and my core warmed up and ready to go. And so let's say I might do like squats and then go right into a prone leg curl and then right into a standing calf raise and then, right into a back extension or something else. And then I'm going to do a bunch of sets of that. And then I'm going to go like, leg press into, a seated calf raise and something else. And I might throw like some, belt squats in or something. So basically it's usually on this day, because I have slightly less time, it's going to be 2 large groupings of exercises, 3 to 4 exercises. And on this day, it's usually 2 large groups and then some type of supplementary auxiliary finisher at the end, because on this day I have more time since it's Saturday and I'm not working that day. So that's traditional. Now, the main difference between that and what I'm doing now, or what I've kind of been doing going back over the last 6 months, is that these 2 movements are no longer really the centerpiece, where I did a lot of barbell squatting and I always included deadlifts. Those 2 things are not true. So I have been reincorporating squats. I had some issues, some physical issues. I had complications from my hernia surgery, which are still not perfectly corrected, but I'm dealing with it and working around it. And I had some knee issues, which the knee is actually great. For those reasons, I shifted away from squats for a while, and I've been reincorporating them, but I'm not doing them at the level that I was as far as the amount of barbell squatting. I'm doing a lot of squatting movements, but not as much squatting. I do not barbell squat twice a week. I'm now to where I'm always including it once a week in some variety, whether it's a pause squat or a box squat or something like that. I'm also not doing the high volume amount of squatting. Like I'm working back to where I can do some of those crazy, rep stuff, but I'm not there yet. I am doing that in the machines. Deadlifting has been a little bit of an issue. I really had to kind of put it aside for a while because of physical issues. It's also, for me at this stage, as far as what I need to improve my physique, I don't think that while deadlifts are a great exercise to build mass, they're one of the most functional movements you can do. I think for me personally and my physique and what I need to achieve to improve, it's not really as important as it was, say, 10 or 15 years ago for me. So I still want to be able to do them, but I don't think that I have to deadlift every week. I'm right now working on including block pulls and kind of been figuring out how I want to program that in. So I will do a little bit, but it's not a centerpiece of a workout like it once was. So, with right now what I'm doing is basically I'll have some squat-based exercise on both days, but it might not be barbell squats. So if you look at my gym, I have the Legend Fitness squat machine, I have the Rogers Athletic Squat Pro, and I have a hack squat. So, and then I have, the leg press, which is more of like I consider a supporting auxiliary machine. So basically, one of those 2 days is going to have some type of barbell squat. And then the other day is probably going to have 2 of them, and I'll throw leg press in as a supporting piece. So pretty much looking at those 4 machines, I will work them into the schedule, within a week. And then I also will make sure I do some type of barbell squatting on those days, and then the block balls get put somewhere else. The supporting exercises are more or less the same. Prone leg curls I always do on what is now my Wednesday workout. I'll do back extensions here. On this day, I always do the Cybex kneeling leg curl. I always do GHDs. I do leg extensions on both days, 2 calf raises in both movements. Like I said, one of these here. So there's not a whole lot of difference other than the fact that there's not the emphasis on barbell squats and deadlifts, although hopefully, as time goes on, I can do more with both of those things. And the other thing is that, I've had to focus a lot on, just with the physical issues I have, changing my approach to how I do legs in order to, get around the issues I was having with my knee and deal with the issues that I was kind of having in the lower abdomen, groin area. I shifted towards a lot more towards, constant tension, really slow descent, focusing on the eccentric part of the movement. So some like controlled descent of up to 5 and even 6 seconds, pauses at the bottom, just a lot more control, trying to go as heavy as I possibly could, mid-range reps. So no really, on the squat movements, no like stupid high reps where I'm going up to 20 and more, because that really fast movement usually tends to reduce the amount of control you have over the weight. but doing, sets of anywhere from 10 to 15 with really slow eccentric and control of the weight, which actually makes it very hard. It's humbling. You don't feel as strong because you're not putting quite as much weight on there, but you're actually doing a lot more total work. So let's see. Just trying to think of what else I forgot. So as you can see from looking at this, I mean, there's a absolute shit ton of volume, and that's kind of my approach. I think honestly, a lot of people put limits on themselves, and your legs are capable of a lot more than you think they are. You walk on them all day. They're huge, powerful muscles. And if you really want them to grow, you have to punish the absolute shit out of them. You gotta be willing to get out of your comfort zone, and you gotta be willing to do things that most people just don't want to do. For me personally, to actually get size in them, I think, I've always gotten the best results from doing volume, meaning lots of moderate amount of weights for lots of sets and lots of reps. For me, that's gotten much better results than trying to do really heavy weight, which trying to go too close to 1 rep max as a bodybuilder is more chance of inviting an injury because your form can be compromised. I typically don't ever go below 5 reps. I think that there is benefit to having an inclusion of strength-based stuff where it is lower weight under, very tight control, focusing on that power. Because what that's going to do is it's going to enable you to do more weight with the moderate weight and then be able to do exceptional amount of reps. So for instance, let's say that, you can do working weights in the 300s on squats for 10 reps or more. Well, by acclimating your muscles and neurologically training them to adapt to being able to fire with 400 pounds in your back for, let's say, 5 reps, when you then take that 90 pounds off and you go back to 315, instead of 4 plates per side, all of a sudden, what you might have only gotten for 10 or 12 reps, all of a sudden it feels light as shit. So now maybe you can hammer out 15 or 20 reps. So there is a reason as a bodybuilder to incorporate those lower rep sets, but you have to be careful how far you take it. When bodybuilders start trying to do too much 1 and 2 rep shit, I'm like, what's the point? This isn't helping you for what your goal is. So hopefully that gives a little bit of an explanation. But yeah, basically back to my previous point, you got to set lofty goals, and you can't think, well, that's too much, or I can't recover from that. The only way you're going to find out what you can recover from and what you can grow from is if you toe the line and you push it. And that's, I want to walk that line of doing that amount of volume that's almost borders on overtraining. I think too many people worry about overtraining, and most of the people who are worried about it don't need to be worried about because they ain't coming freaking close to overtraining. You can do a lot more than you think you can do. And you're not going to find out what that limit is until you push that limit. And you can say, well, that's too much. Well, guess what? I've been doing this for decades, and every year I try to find ways to do more and more, and I'm now 45, and I'm still going, and I'm still doing shit tons of volume. And you know what? It's still working. So, I can't argue with the results for myself. Everybody's different. You got to find out what works best for you. So, I think that covers most of, how I look at lower body workouts. Rita, any questions that you can think of?
No questions.
No questions. Romy, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Lack of enthusiasm. You're a poor student. He just wants a treat. Anyway, hope that helps, guys. Have a great weekend. Get after it. Go crush your workouts. And until next time, like and subscribe.